Hey, this is Amy
This is John
from Year of the Cobra, and you're listening to
Doom Tomb.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doom Tomb Podcast, the podcast for all things stoner, doom, and sludge. My name is Chris. I am your host. Today, we've got all the guys, and they were actually over at my house. This was like an interesting concept because, this was done on a Saturday. The night before Friday, they had a show at Yucca Tap Room in Tempe, Arizona, and it was just about to start getting weird out there. And there was one more show. It was the last show I saw at Yucca Tap Room, and it was Freedom Hawk with Old Fashioned Assassin. And that's been it. So I don't know when the next live interview I'll be getting, but I know I'll be doing a lot of phone interviews over the next coming weeks, I would assume, until everything gets back on track. So let's get into it, because there was a lot discussed. This is the interview with Lord Buffalo. So this is going to be like a kind of a completely different type of interview. Last night, I went to Yucca Tap Room in Tempe and saw the band Lord Buffalo. And, we were going to do an interview last night, but I got to admit, I didn't think that I was going to see the show that I saw. The ton of energy that they put in their performance, honestly, I felt like it was the last performance you were ever going to play. It was that freaking good. And I just got a bunch of stuff to go over regarding the show last night, and what happens when it's a DIY band and we're going on tour, and what has happened in light of recent news. And I think we'll get into it. And of course, we gotta talk about the latest release. And please tell me if I'm saying this right. Is it Tohu Wa Bohu?
That's right.
All right. Oh, you know one thing, honey. We're okay. So let's rephrase this. I'm in my house right now, and the alarm is going off. Okay, so it's done. All right, good stuff. Okay, so in looking on social media, here's some of the things that I have seen. Leguminous drone porn. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Pastoral boot scoot. Now, desert rock over desert rock. Mm-hmm. So, interesting. And crapulation butt rock. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. And the one that really caught me, because this feels like it personifies exactly what I saw on stage, and that was Mudfolk. Mm-hmm. I loved it. Now, if you could just easily go around and just introduce yourselves, please.
Sure. I'm Danny. I play guitar. I sing. Patrick, violin.
Hey, I'm Garrett. I play guitar and keys and play the foot bass.
I'm Yamal, and I play drums and percussions.
Cool. When you talk, just bring it right up to your mouth.
Oh, gotcha.
Cool. Okay, so I saw also on your website it says dithering, and there was this explanation of a state of flustered excitement or fear. A trembling vibration. Uh-huh. That also resonated a lot with seeing you live. So I wanted to start off right away with the question that the previous band asked, and it's very simple. In 2 years, what do you think you'll all be doing? What's your plan?
Probably at least one of us will be dead from coronavirus.
You think it's going to happen?
Odds are, right? Percentage-wise?
Dude, I don't know, man. It's weird. I was talking to you guys off mic, and it's like, it doesn't seem wild out there.
Yeah.
But I know stuff's going on, and I'll be honest with you. I don't know whether it's fear mongering. I have no idea what it is, but I'm taking precautions.
Yeah.
And I think everybody else should too, just in case.
Yeah, exactly.
A little extra food, a little, no toilet paper, obviously, but well, whatever. Shit,
Who needs that anyway?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, please. So, if you can't, I'd like to just go right into the live stuff because it's still fresh in my mind. Some of the gear I saw on stage was a lot different than something I have seen. I first want to start off with yourself, since you have the mic. What type of guitar is that?
I'm playing. Last night I was playing an Airline hollow body. It's from the '60s. Just a cheapy guitar that I picked up. I think I paid $100 for it.
Really?
Yeah, and just set it up. I just put a new pickup on there that's more of it's like a Firebird bass pickup, but wound for guitar. So It's got a lot of low end. Because we don't play with the bass player, so a lot of times I'm doing some low end kind of stuff on there.
Right.
So it's got that huge pickup on it. Yeah. That's that thing.
I love that. And if you could tell me what else you're using on stage.
Yeah.
For your gear.
Guitar wise, not much, man. I play through a Fender Super Reverb, and when I want to crank it up and get gnarly, I have a Palisades overdrive from Earthquaker that I love.
Right.
And that's pretty much it on the guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you have on your side?
So yeah, I'm playing through an Electra, like a '70s Electra. So Electra was making they're ripping off everyone's guitars back in Japan in the '70s.
Right.
So they basically took the Les Paul design and made a really killer guitar, electronics to just the inlays and binding and everything that's on that guitar is just.
Atari cartridges in the back.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's a beautiful guitar that I got when I was probably 17 in Oklahoma, and I think I paid $350 for it. And if you were going to get the equivalent Gibson, you'd be spending $3 or $4 grand at least. So it's that's kind of my standard guitar, and then I run it through a train of different pedals and delays and whatnot, and then I'm doing some other stuff up there, kind of out of necessity. Danny mentioned we don't have a bass player, so what we've kind of modified to make sure that there's a low end up there is I'm playing a Moog Minotaur sub bass, and figuring out how to play that with my feet.
Right.
Mostly hit the right notes while playing guitar and jumping around on stage. So that's kind of what I'm doing up there.
I thought it was fantastic. And sir, what kind of kit do you have?
So that's a Rogers from the mid '70s,
right?
And then my snare is a Fibes from when Fibes was in Austin. It went out of business. It was somewhere else in the '70s, then it went to Austin. I bought it when I was 18. It's a pro snare. It's probably the most I've spent on an instrument, but I love that kit. So it works really well for our sound and for this band. But I just kind of I have other kits that do different things.
Right.
But when I first started playing this, it totally worked with what these guys do. So now you constantly want new gear, or
sure,
I do.
Of course, who doesn't?
But I basically just want to replicate exactly what I have.
I got you. I that was one of the things that I have noticed. I don't know. I'm a sucker for a snare tone. And got a killer tone out of that, man. That sounds incredible. And even I was saying to you last night, your drumming style, it always interests me. Because you always see the guitarist up front and also the violinist, of course. But to see the drummers in the back just doing their own thing really makes it unique. And I want to talk a little more about that later. But I found it interesting, even the way you were placing your arms and how you were playing. I've yet to see somebody do that.
Like a monkey?
It's hard to describe, So basically, this is just another reason to go see Lord Buffalo live, so you can see what this magic is. And sir, can you tell me over there what you are playing?
Your rundown.
Let's hear it, and please bring the mic up.
So I was playing on a German Sander with a realist pickup I really like the pickup. They put it under the bridge, so it catches the resonancy off the wood and off the body. A lot of violin pickups go in between the bridge, so you get a really thin tone. I like the pickup. I saw they were actually making violins, so I just picked up this violin a little before this tour. That's actually the realest violin that has the built-in pickup, so it's a Czech violin, but it sounds great acoustic, and it sounds great electric. It's got really good tone. I definitely am very happy with that. As far as rig-wise, I bounce back and forth between amps. So this tour amp is a PV Delta Blues, and it's the 210, not the 115.
That's the one I saw that I was very interested in talking about.
So it's got a little bit more punch. For violins, like I have some combo amps. I got a Fender Quad, which is probably a bit too much. And I got a Marshall combo, also a bit too much. But the 12's just muddy for a violin. The 10s and the 15s are where you got to go, and that 210 gives it a lot of punch, so it's good on stage. As far as the train set goes, I guess it's nothing too wild. I do have a Boss harmonizer that's an octave pedal, so you can pick your key and drop or raise your octaves. So that helps separate those tones because we don't have a bass player. Again, we want to get lower and sometimes out of each other's way.
Absolutely.
Because we're taking up a lot of mid-range space. I also have this is the Pirate Bay. It's also an octave pedal. And that one's cool because you can pull the root note actually out, so you're just playing the ghost notes of the octave. So that's a fun, it's kind of a one trick, but it's really fun. Other than that, I use the Spring Chicken reverb, and then there's actually this dude in Austin, Gremlin Noise Machines, who we met, and he actually made me a clean boost pedal. Most clean boost pedals I use, they tend to kind of bell curve. So like if you're a violin, you're already in a high frequency range, you hit the clean boost, it's going to just put you in the stratosphere. It's impossible to control feedback. It's really hard to use. But he designed one and made one that puts the bottom end kind of back in. So it's actually a true boost. It just boosts my overall volume, but it still brings the body with it. So I'm really happy with what that guy does. He's got a delay that I've recently re-added to the board, and it's kind of a double delay, so you can use them separate or at the same time, and that's a lot of fun to play with. It's got a short or a long, and you can tap them together, tap them out separate. So that's a good one for me.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Over doing all these podcasts, I think this is only the second band that I've talked to that's ever used a string instrument like that. I think the other person was using a violin as well. It might have been something else, the band Spiritmother. But it's such a welcome addition because, I talked to Jad from Blues Funeral, and he's like, would you like to interview these guys? And he says, I kind of not sure if it fits with what you're doing. And as soon as I listened to the first track, I'm like, absolutely it fits, because there's so many elements, and I continually talk about this. It's the progression of a genre, and I don't even know personally if I can define your genre. I just know I liked it a lot, and from the crowd reaction last night, people that just kind of walked in, had no idea what was happening. You heard it. They were in the front, and they were moving around. They were dancing. They were shaking, and a big part of it, I think, comes to the live performance. And I have never seen a violinist go off like that. And there was a point in watching you last night, and I was wondering, is he going to go into like a Little Devil Went Down to Georgia? I don't know, but I felt like something might have happened. I have never have an idea. But thank you for explaining your gear. Also, you have a very interesting lighting concept for this stage. Whose idea was that?
Yeah. So we never know what to do up there, and you don't know what you're gonna get when you go on tour and play a bunch of different clubs.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the lighting's killer, and
Right.
it's just you hit the jackpot with that. A lot of times, they'll just blanket you in red. Or we've played venues. We played a festival where for some reason they kept saying safety reasons. They kept all the lights on in the house.
It was a huge theater.
Okay.
Theater.
All the lights were on, and just like there was no vibe. Like lighting is one of those things that I think a lot of people don't even think about, and it is really important. Just
Absolutely,
to creating a mood. And a lot of times when we're playing a set, we're trying to have all the transitions between all the songs and kind of like get the flow going and not stop and be like, hey Milwaukee. I mean, we will. But yeah, like you said, you're at the mercy of the club, and when you're doing it at the level that we're doing it, and you're playing a lot of shitty bars, and you're like lighting is often a second thought. So
absolutely,
we wanted to get around, and I think we were all kicking around ideas. I can't remember who. I think Garrett had an idea to just kind of make like a version of a can light, and then we'd always burned incense at our show.
The Dream Machine.
Yeah, we're gonna get there eventually.
A dream machine,
Like a spinning light thing.
Very nice.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of psychedelic, trance-inducing thing.
I like this because even this is DIY. It's something like I don't see anybody that really has this,
right?
And
Home
been to
Depot
shows for
$18.
There you go. And that's the key because it's compact. You can take it, and it doesn't take a lot of space on the van.
Super light,
and it illuminates enough to show exactly what you're about, and it really set a great tone.
Cool
for you guys.
I'm glad. Yeah, this is the first time we've done that with these lights. So yeah, I'm glad it's working.
Fantastic. Also, could you pass the mic over there, please? I noticed that in one of the songs, and it's the first time again I've seen it, actually playing the drums with maracas.
Oh right, that's not me. That's Sonic Youth.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I have to give props. Yeah. I didn't think about copying it. It just kind of happened.
Right.
I don't remember how that started. I think possibly the part lived in that song, maybe on a recording. Mm-hmm. And then I just started doing it. And then I realized, Steve Shelley, a huge influence, Sonic Youth drummer, did that on a couple of their tunes, or maybe just one. But yeah.
I love it. I love how you incorporate that, or you pick up the tambourine for a little bit and throw the fiddle behind it. It's like a badass rock star move. And I just think there's so many different elements that I've seen you guys play on as you're playing on stage. I felt like I was getting influences, believe it or not, Cajun influence, a lot of Texas influence, and I don't know whether it was just I was staring at your boots or whatever, but I saw this like. Not quite a Texas boogie, but like Texas vibe. I'm not sure how to describe that.
Hell yes.
Yeah, like Austin, Texas vibe.
That's awesome.
With some elements of country, obvious elements of folk. That is why I would suggest people go out and see Lord Buffalo at a show, because it doesn't matter what you like. There's stoner doom influences as well. There's something for anyone that wants to catch a show, and it's hard to encompass everything, and I think you did, and I think that's why you had such a fucking great crowd last night, to be honest with you. And especially there was some guy in the crowd, kind of paraphrasing, he said something like, because you were tuning, something like, dude, you guys are expanding my mind. So that, I mean, you can't get much more higher praise than that.
What a compliment. That's rad.
So out on this tour, and I guess we'll talk about it now. That was the last date, and you had other dates, but they were canceled due to recent circumstances. Do you have any other plans? Because I know, like, when I talked to you at the merch table, your merch was getting kind of low. You gonna re-up some merch, so maybe like recoup some of that through some merch sales, or what are your plans on how you're gonna deal with the current situation that we have?
Yeah, we're so much is up in the air right now. We, like over the last couple nights, just talking to venues and seeing sort of the bind that they're in. It's kind of all over the place. We'll have to kind of see what happens. But yeah, this tour was
scheduled, right?
gonna reschedule the dates that are being canceled right now. It kind of like all hit us yesterday morning. We were in Bisbee, Arizona, I guess, and we started getting text messages from our booking guy and from the label, and like looks like the West Coast is closed. Oh, looks like maybe Salt Lake is going to cancel, and like maybe Denver's going to cancel, and it's just like, unfortunately we can't. We don't have a whole lot of money. We can't just drive to Salt Lake City and then not play a show.
Absolutely.
So we had to go with that and go ahead and cancel the rest of it, or the dates. So tonight, last night was the last night of the tour. We are releasing another a split record on Desert Records out of Albuquerque
with Brad.
With Brad, yeah. That's going to come out in June, so we'll be coming back through this area in June. Our booking guy, we're also playing Psycho Las Vegas in August.
Awesome.
So yeah, we're super stoked to do that. It's our first time to do that, and we're extremely excited. So our booking guy is working on rescheduling some of the dates that we had on this tour for June or August. So we'll get them over the summer. But it's always crazy. It's especially crazy with all of
everything going on.
Yeah.
Who are you doing a split with?
Pale Horse, Pale Rider out of Denver.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, you know those guys?
Yes, I do.
They're awesome dudes. And we played with them at Monolith last year. We did a show with them in Denver. Great dudes, awesome band.
There is something about Denver, much like there's something about Austin. Can any of you tell me, like, what is it? Is it something in the water? Is it the air? What makes Austin such a killer place for music? Because there's so many people. Even I hope they come out on tour. I don't know if you know, and it's in the genre, but it's like so left to center is Rickshaw Billy's Burger Patrol. Fucking love it. And I love it's a weird voice and it's a weird sound and it's garagey, but it's stony and it's got a lot of elements. And I know they had a tour. I don't know if they're going to do it or not.
Right. I'm
not sure. And you got like Greenbeard is going to come out with them.
Yeah, who knows, dudes?
So so what is it? What's going on in Austin?
I don't even know. I think there's the nice thing about Austin is for better for worse, you can play as much as you want. There's a lot of like venues there, right? So I think that gives you a chance to sort of hone your craft. There's a lot of musicians that move to that city, so you can take in a lot of different styles of music.
Sure.
I think Austin gets known for a lot of like singer-songwritery kind of like country whatnot. But there's so much more going on. There's a lot of experimental music. There's a lot of like loud metal, doom, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Check out a band called Bridge Farmers. Mm-hmm. They're fucking badass, like doomy guys. They'll be playing Monolith this year. Greenbeard is friends of ours also. Yep. There's a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Does anyone else want to speak to that?
I can't remember the title of the book. It's something dissonances, but Austin has a huge history for music. Goes back all the way to the cowboy days.
Right.
Honky tonks, that was a huge thing in town. But yeah, I think that that's part of it. And then also, the country thing in the 70s, I think was huge. Cheap place to live, but with like the university. So a lot of young people, a lot of people doing a lot of things in the art world and in music. So yeah, a lot of people end up there that want to do something creative, and create a scene. So that's probably.
Yeah, and I think there's kind of an eternal youth vibe that happens there. It's like no one is an adult. Yeah,
exactly. Slacker was supposed to be around there, I think.
Yep.
And there was a show back in the 90s called Austin Stories that was on MTV.
Yeah.
I mean that was like Portlandia before Portlandia.
Right.
And I wish that somebody would bring that back. I love that. It's so dumb. But like even like just like there's a group of people and the one guy just for some reason I wish I could remember the whole story because I can't find it. I maybe get it on YouTube somewhere. But there was this part in the episode where he thought his friend smelled like diapers. So he just called them Dipes, and I don't know why I was so hysterical laughing that it's
We've had that problem in the van.
Oh really? Okay.
I remember the name of the book. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Dissonant Identities. Great book. Yeah.
All right.
Very boring.
Okay.
Really boring, dry book about Austin music. Dissonant Identities.
Well, there's, even was it Austin City Limits? You know, it's just showing that there's there's magic there, and I'm just always curious. That sometimes you just got to envelop in the scene. Yeah. I went out there for South by Southwest a little while ago. Not this year, by the way, but and there's an energy there. It's really hard to describe, but thank you for giving your best interpretation of it. If you don't mind, I'd like to start talking about some of the music again. Going back to a release you had, cassette tapes. Yeah. And you did a cover of a Rocky Erickson, Two-Headed Dog. Mm-hmm. Okay. First off, did you see the Rocky documentary? Mm-hmm. And what were your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, like the whole story, like Rocky is obviously a big influence, and like we didn't mention Rocky before, but I mean, like that's a big part of the scene that's in Austin is just really directly back to what he was doing there, right? Psych. Right. Yeah, like original Psych, which in a lot of ways was actually much more of a like folk Psych. Mm-hmm. And you know, like Psych's changed quite a bit, and we're seeing a lot of like garage and surf and all that. But and in fact, Austin's full of a lot of those kind of variations right now. Right. I think, you know, one of the things that this band started doing when we started incorporating a lot more organic instruments is I think we just sort of naturally followed in the footsteps of that early kind of 13th Floor Elevators type of, you know, using stringed instruments and
absolutely.
Not a jug, but you know, there's something about introducing like more organic sounding instruments into heavier music.
Yeah, and it's like fucking them up, you know.
Yeah,
it's always more interesting than just doing it the straight way, I guess.
Yeah, and I actually think it ends up being heavier. Like that's one thing I learned from watching bands like Swans. Like Swans has a dulcimer on stage.
Yeah.
Slide guitar.
Yeah, and it's just that's to me. Like there's no ceiling to how far you can go in making an instrument like that sound heavy.
And you're also, what I felt in listening to the latest release, the first word that comes out of my mouth is earth. There's something that's very grounding about what you've created in this latest release. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. By the way, the cover that you did, just beautiful. Slowed down and just like felt.
Speaking of Swans, that was kind of a weird period where we were in between drummers before Yamal had joined the band, and Thor Harris, who played with Swans for a long time, is drumming on that track.
Oh, okay.
Doing all the percussion and like a bunch of weird stuff, like water bells or all kinds of stuff. So yeah,
it really is great to bring such a different element into sound, and you just. I don't know. I'm a sucker for reading the record notes or the liner notes and seeing like what else was played on here. Who else was on there? That brings me up to Caitlin Kraus Torres. She played on a track of yours. Mm-hmm. How did you get in contact with her?
She lived in Austin with us, and we just ran in similar circles, and I saw her play many times, and I just love her voice so much. So we were making so that was on the last record that we made with Eric Wofford, and we were getting ready to record that song, and we really wanted to do a female vocal, so I just asked her, and she rode over on her motorcycle one day and sang that song.
I heard there was a Bowie tribute that was done, and she played a track on it. What was it? I got it right here. Fill Your Heart she played from Hunky Dory. You know, I love Bowie. I really do. Mm-hmm. But I really like the way she took it.
Yeah.
I love the direction that she took. So if you get a chance, Caitlin Kraus Torres, I'll put a link in the show notes. You got to check out some of her stuff. It's not by any means doom or anything, but she's got her own style, maybe indie, if you want to say something like that.
Yeah.
So I just got to ask you a few questions about some of these song titles, because I was going down a rabbit hole, and like I told you yesterday, I had to do some research because I didn't know what the fuck you guys were talking about. Mene, is it Mene or Mean?
I think it's Meanie.
Meanie.
That's how we say it.
Tekel up.
Ufarsin.
Okay. Yeah. That was okay. Now this is what I got. It said,
who's Farson?
Basically, the breakdown was the writing is on the wall.
Yeah.
And who decided about that? Who came up with that? Was that you?
Maybe I can't.
All right.
Probably.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's from the book of Daniel in the Old Testament.
Yes.
Yeah.
Daniel 5.
Yeah. And but it's just sort of like I think it's like the Babylonians or the Chaldeans or somebody. It's the end of their like a hand appears and writes that on the wall, and then like later that night they get taken over by this other army.
Yep.
And it just felt sort of appropriate for like where we are in America. Like
Yeah. We're in an interesting time right now.
Like maybe it's all about to go to shit, but if it hasn't already. But yeah, that's
fair enough. Okay, so now I never. How do you X? All right, it's XOCH.
Xochimilco.
Thank you, bless you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So that's a borough in Mexico City.
Yeah.
So how did that come up? And does anybody? You need another beer?
Sure.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead. Chat for a
Yeah,
second.
so Xochimilco is on this, I believe, the southern side of Mexico City. That's actually it's actually Mexico City is such a fascinating city. It's just one of the greatest cities. And
Right.
Danny and I had taken a trip down there, just kind of on a whim. Yamal was born there.
Oh, no kidding.
And I think Danny, you and I went down there even before Yamal was drumming with us. Yeah. But it kind of left an imprint on us. And then one of the songs on the record is called Axolotl.
Yes,
which is
that's the next one. It's the walking fish.
Right, the walking fish.
Yes.
And so those walking fish actually, their habitat is down in that borough of Mexico City. Xochimilco. So
The canals, I think, down there.
Bringing it back to singing and or performing stuff about Earth. Mm-hmm. It goes right back to it again.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other one is it okay? Saxifrage? Mm-hmm. Is that how to pronounce it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got a discussion about a flowering plant. Mm-hmm. What can you tell me about this, sir?
It's a
Take my
some sort of herb. I think there's a William Carlos Williams poem that I found that in. I wasn't familiar with it, but it's a flower that grows in rocks, and the roots of it will actually like break up rock.
Right.
So it's like this tender little thing that's like destroying this huge hard. I don't know. It's just kind of a nice image.
good metaphor.
But yeah, I think it's also used in like traditional medicine and stuff. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, I think what I'll do is let's go over some of the tracks and talk about how'd you first off get involved working with Blues Funeral.
So we played Monolith on the Mesa last year.
Sure.
And they were out there, and I ended up talking to Brad from Desert Records, and he was like, "You got to meet Jad from Blues Funeral."
Brad, Jad,
Jad,
yeah.
Jad, all the ads, and yeah. So I talked to him, and he was like, "Man, I love the set." He saw us play live,
Right?
And he's like, "What are you guys up to?" And I was like, "Man, we just recorded this record, and it was mixed. It just needed to be mastered." I was like, "I'll send it to you. You want to hear it?" And
Okay.
he sent it over, and he was like, "Yes, let's do it."
That's good. So how long did it take to create everything on this record?
Man, we did it in a lot of fits and starts. So we kind of went into, and part of the reason that we named it Tohu Wa Bohu was sort of that. That's the there's a lot of biblical references happening now. I don't want to give the wrong impression.
Yes, there are a few. Yeah. There are a few.
It's just whatever. But yeah, it's in the creation myth, the moment before it says like something in the Bible about like God descended upon the spirit of the water, and it sort of gives you this impression that like so that was already there, right? So like I don't know, it kind of I don't know. It's an interesting thought, but it's just like the darkness that right before everything was made, and so like we had been jamming some of these tunes sort of instrumentally in our sets, in our live sets, and we like set what we often do in this band is like set a deadline. Like, okay, I got the studio for this day, so we got to have something by then. Make ourselves get some shit done.
Makes sense.
So we went in with like some loose ideas, some loose arrangements, and we tracked all the instruments. We would basically spend some time, work out the arrangement, track it all live to tape, and then we started doing like came back in and kind of did some overdubs and like shaped stuff a little harder,
right?
But a lot of that creation process, so like coming from nothing into whatever the fuck it is now, that all happened in the studio. So what we would do is I think we went in for 4 or 5 days, and then we'd have to take like a month or two off, play some shows, make some money, go back in. So we kind of had a process, and it was interesting seeing, especially like the last thing I did was all the vocals on the record, and I had time to like listen to all the instrumental mixes in my car. So a lot of that changed. A lot of the way I thought about the songs changed after everyone sort of had their hand in shaping it a little harder. It turns into a different animal, and so I kind of enjoyed that process. It was definitely a different way for us to do it than we've done it in the past.
And where are you getting all the inspiration for your lyrics?
Man, all over the place. Yeah. I like to read books.
Well, thank you. That's great. Literacy is very important.
Mostly young adult novels.
Like, are we talking like a Degrassi High? Or
some Hardy Boys.
Nancy Drew
more
mysteries.
Nancy Drew, man. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But I think there's a lot of that. Maybe some of that Texas stuff comes out of there. I grew up in a very like religious household in Oklahoma,
right?
So I think there's like some of that. There's a lot of stuff comes. Yeah, exactly.
So
therapy.
You're both from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So is that how you met, or did you just happen to meet somewhere else?
Actually, we did meet at church. I learned how to play the guitar in church.
There you go.
So I don't. I'm not mad about it.
And that's why you shouldn't be. And how did you meet everyone else?
Oh, weird. So we were making, as a joke, Garrett and I moved to Austin at the same time. We were in a different band called the Hot Pentacostals, which was just sort of like a junky rock and roll fake country band. And so we decided it would be really funny if we made a country Christmas record just as a joke. And then we started telling everyone about it. So we felt compelled that we had to do it. So we did it, and we're like, man, we really need to get some fiddle on here. And my drummer at the time, who now lives in Corpus Christi, he was like, oh, I met this dude in Dallas playing a show, and it was him. He lives in Austin. I'll give him a call. So I called him. He came over, made that record, and then he just kept showing up.
He just kept showing.
Yeah, but he brings beer, so it's hard to be like, hey, man, hit the road.
Exactly. And how did you come to join the band?
I was playing with a different band member that was in this band previously.
Right.
And he said these guys need a drummer, and that was it.
Fair enough. Perfect. So you now, and we'll go over the tracks. So, and it's Tohu Wa Bohu. Mm-hmm. Is that okay? So we have, like you were saying, the condition of the earth right before the creation of light, from Genesis 1:3. Mm-hmm. And let's start off with the first track. Is it pronounced Raziel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What can you tell me?
About the name, or about the song, or just
about all of it?
All of it. Yeah. Just go. That was a song that we were using to start the set. So we like a lot of times we'll just like when we're writing out a set, it'll just say like intro, and that'll be whatever it is we're kind of working on, like an instrumental piece. And usually they're kind of like real slow vamps, kind of let everyone get warmed up and get into it. And that was what that had been in our live set, and then we went in to record it. And I feel like that song's sort of like this, like that tension of like, you know, when like a thunderstorm is rolling in on the Great Plains, and you're just like sitting there, and you can feel the pressure change, and you can watch it coming at you, and that's what that is. And then Raziel is actually the name of Yamal's daughter, and she was in utero. She was getting baked at that point, and we were waiting for her to come out too. So it seemed like
Seems like an apt
name.
It
felt like the right
title.
thing.
And then there's this piece at the end where I'm going to assume that the storm comes, and it just rains down. But it's weird. It's like it's oddly pleasant. Yeah, like a pleasant rain. It's like you need this to cleanse something or what have you. So great. Oh, that's actually the first track I ever heard from you guys. So I was like, if this is it, I got to hear the rest.
Sweet.
Wild Hunt. What can you tell me?
The first time I had heard about that concept or that idea, was a painting that I saw. I can't remember where I saw it. It was a huge. So it's a European myth, or it goes back. Yeah, I think it's all over Europe. They all had different versions of it.
Okay.
Where it's like it would be like dead soldiers or dead hunters, and they come back like once a year, and they'll blow through, and they kind of like you'll hear their trumpets or whatever, and they're like. Their horses run through, and like people, if you're alive and you see it, sometimes you'll get pulled up into it and disappear, and like it's just this creepy thing. But all the paintings from like, you know, a few hundred years ago of it are just awesome. They're just like these gothic, like crazy ass cloud storms full of hunters.
Yeah. And I don't know where they might have been drawing the inspiration from. Maybe something they've seen, or something that it could be a metaphor for something else. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, so interesting title here, Halle Berry.
Halle Berry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this after seeing like Swordfish, or
more like Batman Forever?
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah.
Was that the right one? I don't know.
I was thinking Strictly Business.
Okay.
But,
yeah. No, we wrote that song, and it had the Hallelujah chorus, and I don't know. It just started out as kind of a joke. It's also easier to spell than Hallelujah. But yeah, it started out as a joke, and then it was sort of like, well, actually, it felt like it seems like Halle Berry is sort of the modern version of that.
I got you.
Exaltation.
I'm with you. And if somebody did not know who that person was, completely apt title. Like it's like, oh, that's Halle Berry.
Yeah.
And like it's a thing,
right?
But and that's if you don't know the person, of course.
Right. Yeah.
And what can you tell me about Doghead?
Do you want to take
it?
A whirl? What do you want to say? What do we want to say about Doghead?
Doghead, yeah. Doghead's kind of, it's probably the prettiest song on the record. Actually, we kind of really played like that saloon style piano throughout.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a ballad that gets kind of, the switch gets flipped about halfway through, right? And then it starts to rain down a little bit more thunder in Lord Buffalo style, which is kind of an arc that we do.
I think the one thing that I really like about that is that that started with that guitar riff that we play, how we play it live, and then we kind of dissected that and made it more about the piano on the album version.
Right.
There's a live version that we're getting ready to release where we actually do it more how we do it live now, which has the bowed electric guitar and the bowed violin intro, like a more droney intro. But I think one thing that's nice about that song is that it's like it's sort of dirgy in a ballad way, but just about the time when that like starts to really feel monotonous, it kind of breaks loose and like bring in that big fuzz guitar and the drums open up and it's it gets a little more rock and roll.
Do you think that's going to be the future? You're talking about live recording. I know like there's been some bands locally that want to do some live stuff, and there's some other bigger bands that have been putting out live music. Do you think that's a direction to go right now with everything that's been going on? So at least there's continuous new product. Like I said, I know there's a ton of places that are shutting down. I know Live Nation, etc. So do you think that's a thing? Because I've also seen a lot of bands, especially on Facebook, doing a live stream now. A live stream concert. I mean, I think it's a great friggin' idea.
Yeah, we've never done that. We talked about it a little bit, but yeah, that's a hard thing to know.
I've never even watched a concert that way.
It's
yeah.
So here.
Saw Landa talk to it. Like she was doing like a kind of a solo venture and just live streamed her whole show every night on Instagram. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I think the tough thing is, like last night you get high off of the crowd and the that energy that is bouncing back at you. You put a little bit out there,
right,
and it bounces back, twice fold, and so we'll do whatever we have to do in these uncertain times to keep making music and bringing it out there. But it just we got to get back to where bands can tour and people can go out to shows again.
Yeah, and on top of that, first and foremost, get home, say hi to your family, hug your wife, hug your kids, hug whoever you got. What can you tell me about the title track of the record?
Yeah, I mean, an interesting thing is a lot of the like guitar riffs that I play on this record I actually wrote on the bass, and so I played bass. This is the one song I played bass on last night. So it started with that bass riff, and it was just like this kind of like groove. You all had that beat, and we just kind of built it off that groove. It's like the slow build, an exercise in patience,
right?
You know, like how to. It's like 6 minutes of just like slowly ramping up, and then that was one thing that I'd actually never done. At the end of that, I did like 9 vocal tracks, so it's just like this choir of, dude.
It's just a choir of you.
Yeah,
but it's something again. It's something that progresses the genre. I haven't heard anything in the genre that's quite like it.
Yeah.
So, have at it,
Yeah, exactly.
And what can you tell me about kenosis?
That was a weird one. One time, we're at the practice space, and I went to the bathroom, and I came back, and Garrett was jamming something on an omnichord piano. Yeah. And we had this riff. We just recorded it on a little iPhone recording. And then later on, I had this other bass riff, and then we realized that they kind of went together. They worked together.
Right.
And so we ended up putting them together, and it was one of those... That song especially felt like a thing that we just built when we were down in Lockhart recording the record.
Gotcha.
We kind of just made it up on the fly. Yeah.
And that sometimes it's the best way.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because you've heard the stories, whoever's multiple famous bands, it's like, oh yeah, it took 5 minutes and became like the biggest hit.
Yeah. And the one that you spent like years working on is sort of like, well, yeah,
that's okay.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, let's hear the next track. Fair enough. Heart of the Snake.
I just wanted to say one last thing about that last track.
Yeah, sure.
Patrick plays this just shattering violin part at the end of that song. That like pulls
I'm
it
curious
all
to when
together.
he doesn't play shattering violin parts.
He always rises to the occasion, and this particular day was an overdub day in the studio,
right?
And Patrick had been there just sitting around, I think just fiddling on his thumbs, while the rest of us were doing our parts, and it was the end of the day, and he got a shot. He went up there and he just took it.
Right.
And he destroyed it, and then the engineer asked him to do another one so that we'd have like an A-B and maybe get something better out of it.
Right.
But we were all just crushed by it, and Patrick refused. He just refused to do another take.
Just drop the fiddle, yeah. Drop it down.
No, that was the one.
Yeah.
That was it. Here, take this.
When you know, you know.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
You literally got in your car and you just drove home and left the rest of us there.
That is perfect. Hey, I did my piece. What do you need? That's it. I'm done. Bravo, my friend. Bravo. You nailed it. So what can you tell me about Heart of the Snake?
What did we used to call that one? I don't know.
Is this your mind?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I have nothing.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Yeah. That started as like a weird little guitar riff, and then I think we were sort of like, let's try it on piano. We started jamming it like that, and then it started to have like that weird sort of like soul sound, sort of like what's that like Black Sabbath song that we were just listening? Changes, yeah, sort of like in that kind of a vibe. And so we kind of tried to embrace that a little bit,
right,
and get kind of funky with it. I don't know what else to say about that one.
We have started trying to work it into our tour.
Yeah, we actually didn't play that one live very much. That was a thing that like I think I had made up the chord progressions. That might have been that be like the oldest piece of music on the record. Actually, I think I had a chord progression for that a few even maybe a year or two before that we made that record. But yeah, we haven't been playing it live, and recently we kind of been pulling it in and maybe rearranging it a little bit and trying to work it out live.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the final track, Llano Estrado number 2.
Yeah, so we did Llano Estacado number 1 on a 7-inch split release on Clear Story, AV record label out of Oklahoma City. Wonderful people who make wonderful records. And this one felt like a little bit in that vein. Like to me, it's like the Staked Plains. It's like the highest plains, probably not high plains, but the highest plains in Texas,
right?
Out by Lubbock and stuff. And that's just like that was an idea that Yamal had for like a sort of like krautrock style drum beat. Mm-hmm. And then one night I was playing bass and Patrick was over there and he had this fiddle lick. And then we just kind of put all of those things together, his drum beat and that lick with the bass line that I was playing along with that.
Right.
And then I think Garrett and I were just faking it on that live recording, but yeah, just sort of happened in the studio. But to me, it felt, the reason I wanted to call it Yano Estacado number 2, that one just feels like, I don't know, the most like, I could just like see a Western movie to that, you know, just like people like riding horses as fast as you can across the plains.
It makes perfect. It makes perfect sense. So, with all these tracks, which one was the fastest and easiest to make, and which one took the longest?
You missed one. Did we miss one?
Did I miss one?
I don't know. The
That was
Kenosis. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Right on. Sorry, what was your question?
That was that one.
Yeah.
Which one took the longest to create, and which one was the quickest?
Oh, crud. That's a hard one to answer because of the process, I think, right?
It was very mixed.
But
The shortest, fastest. That was the first one we recorded, and it was the most ready to record.
Halle Berry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything else kind of.
I think Tohu Wa Bohu took a little while. At least for me, like I didn't nail it until we recorded it, I felt like.
I left that violin part in the kind of the break as like a placeholder, where I was like, I'm gonna do something, but I just want to know where I'm at. So I did that as kind of like a placeholder, and then I was like, actually, I really like this. I'm just gonna do it. And
So apparently he this is his thing. This is what he does. Yeah, and just like that's it. This is what here, take this.
well, I can't believe in this moment, 10 years after this band, I'm finding out that was a joke. I took that band really seriously, and that country Christmas record I took very seriously.
Is that available anywhere? Can we get it? Can you get it on Bandcamp?
Yeah, look at the Hot Pentacostals. It's good. It's funny. Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. Well, thank you for going over that, and finally, the artwork inside and out. Can you tell me who did it, and did you give them inspiration? Did they listen to your music to figure that out, or how'd that work?
So
you want to? You can take this one.
I'm just real proud of my buddy because Garrett is awesome. He photographs a lot of things that we use visually. He goes out in nature and finds things that are just amazing to look at. We had he made 6 maybe versions of art that we were going to use, and they're all great. Like I wish we could use all of them. 5 more records, yeah. I think that visually the previous record and this one have a theme going. Like I'm already thinking like this is going to be a trilogy of like visual and thematic kind of stuff. But yeah, Garrett does all of that.
Yeah, so this is a photograph that Garrett took, and then he also did all the layout work on all of it and the design aspect of that. The artwork that's on the inside, on that black insert and the center label of the record itself, yeah, that is Ben Brockman. That's a guy that I went to high school with in Oklahoma and college a little bit, and was in art classes with him, and I've always loved his art. He was living in Minneapolis, and I think now he lives in Arizona.
Yeah, he's in Tucson.
And so we used a piece of he made it a beautiful thing for our last record on the insert, and so this time when we were going in, I was like, I had seen this piece that he had done, and I was like, man, that would look awesome as a center label, and then we decided to do another insert with it. So yeah, we used his art, and
that's not the guy in Tucson that you were talking about earlier, was it?
No, different
guy.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. Yeah, I don't think his studio got damaged in that way.
Yeah, I hope not. Yeah.
Can you quickly tell that?
He's got the.
So yeah, it's our buddy Mike Dixon, who actually he runs a record label called People in a Position to Know out of Tucson. He also does lathe cuts, and so he does like mobile lathe cutting. So he'll go to a festival, set up his lathe cutter, and sometimes he'll just rip live audio onto a vinyl, and you can hand it to a band. I mean, it's really a insane thing to see happen. But so he's got his studio in Tucson, and I guess due to the corona right now, apparently we have a toilet paper shortage. Not sure what the connection is to corona, but no one has toilet paper. His upstairs neighbor has been flushing paper towels for the last week and apparently overflowed his toilet on the second floor. It all came down into Dixon's studio, and so he found all of his equipment just like soaked in urine. That's just probably one of the worst things to come home from a vacation to discover.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, we can give that mic back.
Yeah, thanks, man. That is not a good thing.
No.
I mean, technically, I mean, is there any time urine soaked anything is good? Maybe a waffle. I don't know.
This is actually a good question.
Yeah, this might be a something I'll have to ask in the next podcast. Urine soaked blank is perfect.
Right.
Delicious. Maybe you have to have it. Maybe not cold, because that'd be ridiculous. You have to do is you got to heat it up a little bit. Like maybe in the oven or the microwave if you're in a pinch.
Right.
I feel like if you asked a dog that question, they'd probably have a better answer.
I think they would just say everything.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys. Thanks for going over that record. I really appreciate it. Love it. I got an advanced listen, and I picked up the vinyl last night. Got the transparent. What are you guys down to in your vinyl right now? What do you got? I'm sure you got some black. Do you have any color left, or transparent?
So my understanding, we don't have any of the green marbled ones.
Right.
So that was kind of a limited run. I think they did 150 or 200 of those.
Okay.
And we don't have any. I believe the label has a few more, but I think just in Europe.
I saw that European distribution. Yeah.
So I think they're already over there. So yeah.
Yeah. So we do have some clears. Honestly, we're down to I think maybe 10.
Yeah.
So we would have sold out, had this tour not.
Yeah, absolutely you would have. So this is a perfect opportunity. Go to Bandcamp, pick it up, get it sold out, maybe even get a repressing.
Yeah.
If we can go around, I'd like to start with you, sir, and talk about who are some of your inspirations in creating music, and what was the first song you learned how to play?
Whoa, okay. So inspiration, I'll start with inspirations. For me, violin-wise, Stephen Grappelli is kind of a lot of where I started. He played with Django Reinhardt. He's a jazz violinist, and that's kind of the first time I heard a violin player doing something different that wasn't traditional and kind of stepping away outside of the box a little bit. And then later, I think, I had put down the violin for a long time. I moved to Austin, late 90s, put down the violin, wanted to play guitar, wanted to be in a rock band, wanted to do that kind of thing. Went and saw this band, Dirty Three, at Emo's in Austin, and saw Warren Ellis play for the first time. And I just pointed at that dude and I was like, I want to do that. I want to do what that dude does. So Warren Ellis is probably my biggest influence. He now plays with Nick Cave.
Oh, okay.
So if you hear any of the soundtrack stuff Nick Cave does, also he's pretty much been on the last Bad Seeds records for tours with Nick Cave. So that's where we're at. As far as first songs, man, I don't really know. I think guitar wise, I had just gotten a Beatles book from the library. And it's got from pretty simple to pretty complex, and just kind of you can know those, you can hum those songs in your head without having to hear it and listen to it. So I think when you play it, you like recognize like how that goes. As far as violin, like first song, I mean, that's the thing about violin is like you grow up playing other people's music. And that's what you do as a violinist,
right? And
it's hard for a lot of violinists, I think, to step outside of that and understand like you spend your whole life playing other people's music, and it's a weird thing to wrap your mind around sometimes. So I always love seeing violinists on stage like rip it up. So
yeah, and you're different. You are no different, man. I front and center, just crushing it, and it's. I see that and I'm like, okay, I think this is going to be, he's going to obviously play the music. It's going to be rather mellow. and this guy comes out like a ball of thunder, and I'm just not expecting it. He's all over the place, jumping around. It's like there's something that forget the performance for a second. It just looks like fucking passion, pure passion for this instrument that not a lot of people get to hear in the genre. So thank you for that. I really appreciate seeing that, and I really appreciated seeing what you guys pulled off live. I thought it was fantastic.
I think, for me, going, we talk about Austin, we talk about how much music is in Austin all the time. How many live venues, how many bands you can go and see, and you can sit home and put on a record, you have that option. But if you're gonna come to a show, I want to see a show. I want to see it, and for me, playing with these guys is everything. So I enjoy our time together. I like making music together, and we're all smiles up there. That's what we want to do. We're out here because we want to do it,
right?
And we're fortunate enough to get to pick those options. We choose cities we want to play, we choose places we want to play, we pick bands we want to play with, and we choose that route for a reason, because we want to have a good time, we want to feel good, and we want other people to feel good. So.
And oh shit, I just had it. I just lost my train of thought. Whatever. Never mind. It'll come back to me. So, first song you learned, what was it?
Oh man. It's probably going to be something out of Suzuki Volume 1. Violin wise, gosh, it's hard. I started in 5th grade, so
okay.
That is going to be just, man, yeah. Who knows? I
know the other thing I wanted to ask you. So I know we joked about it, doing one take and just that's it. Where did it come from? Was that arrangement, that piece that you had, was it in your head and you just I'm feeling it, I'm laying it down, or did it just come right out from the heart and just this is what I got?
Man, that's an interesting thing, because I remember sitting there and we were watching, and I had a totally different thing in my head actually before we were going into it, and then I don't know, a few of those songs I had no idea what I was gonna do. I think I only had 2 songs worked out on that record before I walked into the studio, and the other ones I had no idea. And these guys kind of track together to get the guitar and the drums and the bass locked in,
right?
Because we tend to sway a little bit, so it's tough to go click track.
Mm-hmm.
For us, we're not really a click track kind of crew. So as they're locking it in, I get the freedom to kind of be able to listen and feel it, and But yeah, I was going a totally different direction. I don't even know. Maybe it was just. It was getting late. I think it was a late night for me, and
improvisation, I think that improvising, I think that is a big part of our band. I think that finding out where those things come from, that moment, that spark, you have no idea. But also, I guess what I'm speaking about really is having your skills be there in order to tap into that, those moments or whatever. It's really, I think, what makes our band. It's a big part. Improvisation, I think, is a huge part of how we write songs and what we do and how we work together kind of as a group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. Didn't mean to take...
and I think also so there's something that cool that your brain does with those things is we were just talking Patrick had half the day to sit there and listen to us screwing around, but some part of his brain was working on that, and when we turn the mic on and you're in the hot seat, that's what happened,
Yeah, you're up next. You're up next. So and since you are up next, tell me, go ahead.
Well, I do remember the first song that I ever learned how to play I learned how to play Oasis Wonderwall out of the back of a Guitar World. That's and it was cool. It had all the sustain chords, and I had never done that. I mean,
was that all right? Let's be truthful about.
Yeah.
So was that the track? So when you're at a party and you're like, hey, oh, there's a guitar there. Oh, let me see if I know anything. And then the ladies come over and
I don't think you ever did that. Did you?
I said maybe.
Oh my god. I'm sure I would have loved for that to happen. I'm not sure that it ever did.
Okay, fair. All right. And some of your inspirations?
Well, see, yeah, I mean, like I grew up in the '90s, and so I was definitely, whether I like it or not, influenced by all of the like '90s rock,
right?
Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots and all that stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I listen to all kinds of stuff right now. I feel like the older I get, the more like instrumental music I listen to. But I love listening to like Swans. John Mueller is awesome. I've been listening to a bunch of music that was written by Moondog, that like composer guy. Moondog, check it out.
What kind of music is it?
Weird. He was like a composer who was, I think, totally blind. He was like living on the streets of New York, and then I don't know how he ended up in Germany. But once he got to Germany, I think it was Germany. I could be butchering this.
Well, you know what? I'll research it. I'll just make all. Yeah, I might want to fact check this. Yeah,
definitely fact check it. But yeah, someone like they took better care of him over there, and they were able to like write down a bunch of his compositions. And
sure.
So I don't know who's like playing them. If you go on Spotify, there's a bunch of like Moondog stuff. It's wild, kind of. There's a new one out too. Yeah.
I want to throw him. You think he's on Bandcamp?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think that the guy's dead. I don't know who's putting out these records of his music, but
gotcha.
I don't know. It's a weird thing. I can't figure it out.
All right, I'll do some research because I'm always, Spotify has its place, and I have no problem with Spotify.
Yeah,
but it's personal, and maybe other people agree where it's like you're not getting your share.
Oh, absolutely.
You ain't getting your take.
Yeah,
and that's why when I love when you go into a live show. And we can go over to the merch, scope it out, say, I know I'm grabbing that. And maybe that is another tank of gas. Maybe that's another track to get done. And that's still, from what I have seen in the scene, that's pretty much exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And, if you're not supporting, especially now, so go to Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Find some shit you like and buy it.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Pass it on to Garrett here.
Yes, influences and first song. Oh, shit. Good point.
You're paying that monthly fee. You're paying the monthly fee to Spotify, and then you get that check 3 months later, and you're like, ooh, this didn't work out.
Is it enough to buy a gallon of gas?
Maybe right now because it's so low.
Yeah, we're getting down it. Yeah, if it drops under $2, then sold.
Yes.
So go ahead. Influences and first song.
Well, I think funny enough, first song I think Danny taught me how to play Wonderwall.
All right, fair.
And that is a true story. Kind of an interesting thing. I get to bring that kind of all the way back around to modern times. Is one of our friends who we mentioned earlier, Ed Warga, that played drums in a previous project, Hot Pentacostals.
Right.
He got married some years back, and he asked us to play Wonderwall at his wedding. And so he walked down the aisle to that song. And I'm pretty sure Danny and I didn't even have to rehearse it. It was still there.
It's down in those recesses.
As far as I guess inspirations, I'm a big fan of kind of stabbier, weirder type of guitar players. Think of like a Mark Rebo, who plays with done a lot of work with like Tom Waits over the years, and all his stuff is like coming out at times atonal, still sticking with the chord progression, but putting stabs in where you wouldn't necessarily expect it.
Right.
David Torn is another guy. I think of, just even like Talking Heads and some of that type of guitar work.
Right.
That's a little more abrasive. I like playing up on the neck. So that's the stuff that always interests me.
Did you see David Byrne recently? He was on Saturday Night Live.
I didn't see it. Patrick was talking about that.
Love that.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. I admit, it's like I look at it and I'm like, I don't know. And I can't remember whether there's a first song or second song that started out, and I'm like, so this is it, huh? And then everything else grew and grew and grew. And by the end of it, I was like, wow, that was a killer track. Do you remember that?
I think what I liked most about it, actually, strangely, is he didn't have any amps on stage. He didn't have any, like, all people were still playing guitar, like a lap, like keyboard, but they were all dancing, but there was no equipment on stage. Everything was like behind curtains, so all the focus was on the people and the movements. And I was fascinated by that. Like, I think that really drew me in.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's someone who's continually been creating throughout the years, and you can fall on whatever side you want on, like, whether or not you like David Byrne and like what he's put out, but he's always doing something new,
right?
And really appreciate that about him.
And when you're doing it for 40 plus years, there's I mean, thank you. Yeah. Basically, thank you. Starting with the days of Blondie and television at CBGB's, and I've seen those rough things from YouTube and stuff, Psycho Killer, and it's just, every once in a while you need that difference, that change, and that different sound. I'm assuming for like even a musician, so it's like, so you're hearing different elements, and maybe you can bring something of that into the new product.
Yep.
So, sir.
So yeah, 5 years old. Kiss. Kiss was huge.
Okay.
I think that was the first. I saw a record and I was just like, oh. Yep, I'm doing this.
Were you scared by it at first? Well, was this? Let me ask. Was it makeup era or non-makeup era?
It was makeup. It was.
Okay.
I think it was Kiss Alive.
Yeah, so
possibly.
That's a scary one.
No. I'm sorry. It's the one where they're all on the front and they're all posing.
Destroyer.
Yeah. 5 years old. That was it. And then Black Sabbath. Of course, all the stuff that we all love.
Yeah.
Zeppelin, Sabbath, Misfits. Later on, like the hardcore movement when I was in in the 90s, like the hardcore thing was huge.
Which brand of hardcore?
For me it was Rise Above. We heard it on the way here. But then also Minor Threat was huge. Like that was a big thing. And then like salsa with my family. Like
really?
that. Oh my God. Like I remember being in bed and hearing salsa like from the living room and just knowing there was a party out there and like peeking, and like my parents having like the funnest time dancing, like clearing everything out of the living room.
Right.
And like having dance parties. I think dance music is like was salsa and cumbia is huge from my family. And then for drumming, Blonde Redhead, huge fan of that drummer. He's amazing. And the first song that I ever learned was Johnny Be Good. Yeah. Okay.
And because of the background, like I was talking to you all yesterday about the museum, the instrument museum. There's a piece like, did you bring any of that salsa style into your playing? Like the first person that comes up to mind is like Tito Puente. I know it's not, he does.
Oh, he's huge, yeah.
But he's amazing. Is there anything that you feel that you took from that and you're just part of your culture?
Yeah, a little bit. Not on purpose at all. Like, I think when I joined the band, these guys said that I could pick 3 drum beats to use for our career.
Right.
And I only used 2. And one of them's a cumbia beat. It's any of that Afro-Cuban, anything that has roots in ancient times and ancient shit,
right,
is like badass to me.
There's
because it speaks to like our roots as human beings.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, I think that it's filtered through, but I've never thought about it. Like it's a feeling, and like, oh, this sounds good here. This goes well here. Let's do it.
Absolutely. There was a band that came through here a while ago. I think they're coming through again. Deafkids. Very interesting style. I can't define it. Which is kind of like you guys. It's like I can't define it, but I know I like it. Yeah. And if you haven't heard it, go out and hear it. Thank you. So thank you for that. Netflix, or maybe even just a traditional show. What is your last Netflix binge watch? Fleabag. So okay, my wife and I talked about that. Yeah. Like we wanted to check it out. Worth it?
I thought so. Yeah, it's hard not to watch all of it. What's that?
Is it dry?
It's British.
Yeah. I'm a fan of all the old British stuff, where there's Blackadder upstairs, downstairs.
Yeah.
You being served?
It's got a little bit of that, but it's dark, man. That's what I liked about it. I think
interesting
and funny.
So the main character, if you were to describe her, what is she like? Is it sardonic? Is she more obnoxious? Is she like just wishing the worst on? I don't know. I can't figure out what I'm getting from the trailer.
Okay. I mean, no, I think she's definitely like redeemable. Like there's something that you empathize with her a lot. Okay. And that's what makes it work, I think. Even when she's,
Gotcha.
doing some stuff, but
does anybody else have a binge?
I always go to nature docs. I don't know which one I'm watching. I just go for the pictures.
Not you're watching the screensaver.
Oh, very nice.
I like to put on a record and put the thing on mute and see when they sync up, like the old stoner thing to do. Like put on what was it? Dark Side of the Moon and
Wizard of Oz. Yeah, the Wizard of Floyd.
My buddy showed me that and he was like, "Hey, dude, you can do this with anything."
Yeah.
Well, you dummy. Put on a record, put the TV on mute, and see where it lines up. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny.
Is there anybody else that's got a Netflix binge or some?
Man, I've been doing like all the Black Mirrors, like that kind of dystopia.
That's another one that we wanted to get through, and Jen, my wife, has watched a bunch, but it's like I hear that it's just dark as shit, and it just kind of makes you think about what the future is.
It is, and it's probably binge is the wrong term for that. You want to like sprinkle it in with some nature docs, like your mom was talking about. Right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was going through even just Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Like I need
so heavy.
I need some time more. I need some time off, or even a show that I haven't been up with. This Is Us. That show, and it's like I'm like, how much heartbreak can I take in one episode? I gotta rest. The Stranger.
I don't know that.
I haven't seen it.
We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that after. Thank you. And did you have a Netflix binge or not? Or
binges, man.
So right now I'm waiting for Ozark season 3.
Yeah, and we're just going through. I forgot the whole thing.
Yeah, I gotta go back.
Yeah,
because it's been too long. I need a refresher. I should probably tune back up because I think that's dropping pretty soon.
I think end of the month or something.
I like the show Dark. It's a German show. Can't really give that one away because it's got a lot of crazy plot twists. But that was a mind-blowing show. But it is all in German, so I got to sit. I can't really super binge it because I have to focus. Yeah, I got
a lot of reading.
A lot of reading involved. But man, what a cool concept show, and just.
My dog is attacking here. Move away. Hey. Whatever. He'll be all right. All right, so I guess we'll finish this up so he can do his magic. How can we find all your material and find you on social media and everything?
Yeah, LordBuffalo.com has links to all of it. To our Bandcamp, to our Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or any of that.
Right on.
It's all there. Also, the new record's on Blues Funeral. You can order it from them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think we're out of green unless you order it from Europe. I don't even know if you can. Still got the clears, and check out the record. I mean, you can listen to it. It's streaming everywhere.
Yes. But buy it.
Feel free to listen to it that way and then buy it.
Exactly.
See if you like it and then buy it.
Which is the same thing I did.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And I'm sorry that my dog is like just
lovely.
He thinks that everyone loves dogs and everyone should pet him. So
100% correct.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Hey,
Sincerely
appreciate it.
And by the way, thank you for at least giving us one more date to enjoy this music.
Yeah.
And I wish you safe travels back to Austin, man.
Thank you.
Thanks a bunch. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
All right, later.
Right on. Okay, so my wife reminded me of a question that I haven't asked for a while, and I was actually driving home last night and thinking about it because I couldn't quite figure out what the answers would be. So here's the question. So there's going to be a movie, not a documentary movie, but an actual movie called The Lord Buffalo, and it's going to have some stars in it. Now, I want you to pick someone else, to pick someone else, to pick someone else. Who do you think would play him in the movie? Who do you think would play him in the movie? Et cetera, et cetera. Can you go down the line?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's hilarious. So I'm Yamal, and next to me is Garrett. And I think definitely getting some Leo DiCaprio vibes from him.
I can see that maybe from like Catch Me If You Can kind of thing. Yeah, actually, maybe even Little Wolf of Wall Street. Except he was heavier then, so no.
Danny definitely needs some Billy Bob Thornton happening.
Okay. Fair.
Granted, I know I'm going first, and I get it last, right?
Yes,
so,
you do. You do.
So Patrick. Oh my gosh, Mel Gibson.
Yes, I see where you're at. Maybe
this makes no sense, but it's fun.
I
don't know why I'm saying those things. I think you're handsome. You're from the South, kind of.
He's dashing.
And you're older than me.
Okay, so go ahead, sir.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, Yamal, I think you're in the hot seat. Maybe we were watching George Lopez this morning.
I can't believe you didn't say Tom Cruise.
You know, you know what? I could. Oh, go ahead. Who do you think?
I don't want you to take it. I swear to God, he's a good look. It just, I'm telling you were way younger.
Who's this?
Well, I see that too.
Jack Nicholson.
That's good.
No.
I see Cruise. I see some Tom Cruise. A young. Yes, go ahead.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh man.
That was more him.
No, I see that in you.
Oh, cool.
Like young.
I love that dude.
Like
Yeah,
20
he's
years
awesome.
younger.
Amazing.
He's
But
in a band.
Benicio
He's an
del
actor.
Toro, I
He has
definitely see
tattoos.
He's got it all.
Yeah.
He's a sweet dude. So yeah, Danny, lead singer. I definitely would like to have like Zach Galifianakis behind the mic.
Okay.
You know, back when he was sporting like kind of the big beard and big hair.
Sure.
So, Danny's a much handsomer, slimmer dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then Patrick, I don't know. I think just maybe your demeanor. I'm gonna go with Nick Cage. You're just a real chill dude.
I'd say Patrick's more of a Brad Pitt, like Legends of the Fall Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I remember there was that part right after like third or fourth song when he took his shirt off, and everybody was like,
Yeah.
Whoa,
hey.
welcome to the gun show," and like,
Yeah.
I completely understand that. So yes, go ahead, sir.
I don't know. I would say Yamal would be like Joaquin Phoenix. Like,
That's pretty good.
yeah, I could see that.
Absolutely not.
No?
Okay.
Fine. I'd probably be played by Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, you know what? Great poll.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. You really get into your roles, is what you're
Right.
saying.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Understood.
I could see like man, I don't know who would play Garrett.
Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Maybe Pamela Anderson?
Dog the Bounty.
Yeah.
Pam,
Doug the Bounty Hunter.
Pam
yeah.
Anderson. You know, I
Or
gotta.
his son. Yeah.
Dog's son.
Doug's son. Yeah.
Dog's son.
Badass. I love that show.
Yeah.
I have not seen. I haven't.
Wasn't
I
he
haven't
just in the hospital or is he back?
There's a lot of drama happening
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So you picked everyone.
I think so.
And you picked everyone. You picked, sir.
I stole my thunder.
That's okay.
I was rolling on Daniel Day-Lewis.
It's a good one.
Yamal, that's an easy one. It's that girl from the L Word. Kate Moen. Yeah. Dude, Google that.
I gotta put that in the show notes because that's fucking hysterical.
It's unbelievable. Put a picture of them side by side,
Right?
Because it's unbelievable. I don't know, Garrett. What's the top 10 sexiest men alive right now?
Do you think maybe like Chris Helmsworth, but a little more rugged?
I feel like Garrett's a little more buff than that.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, I know what it like. Maybe kind of like The Rock, but not as lighter complected.
Well, let's not go overboard. Does The Rock only have one button on his shirt?
You know what? From ripping it off so many times, yes.
Okay, maybe a Adam Driver. Then maybe we'll go that way.
Mini driver, yeah.
We'll go that way. Yeah.
Adam Carolla and Mini Driver had a baby?
Yeah.
This is just sort of a stream of consciousness there.
This is our studio magic. Yeah.
Okay, I think we got it all figured out.
Yeah. Cool.
So thank you, I appreciate that. Thanks to the guys in Lord Buffalo for stopping by on their way back to where they lived in Texas to get home to their families. Really appreciate them taking their time. Let's hear one of the tracks off of their latest release, Tohu Wa Bohu. This is the first track I heard. Thank you, Jad, from Blues Funeral. You turned me on to these guys, and I sincerely appreciate it. Great material, and you're going to love it. Just go over to Bandcamp. Buy what you can. You know, what are you doing? You're at home anyway, so just listen to this. This is Raziel. All right. So here's the thing. I've done this ending probably about 10 times already. You all know the drill. doomtombpodcast@gmail.com. That's right. Social media, doomtombpodcast. You'll find videos, pictures, random thoughts, whatever. You know, at the end, I usually just sign off, and it's pretty easy. It's pretty basic. It's pretty simple. I don't know, man. It just feels kind of weird out there. And I hope everybody's doing all right. So drop me a line. Tell me that you're doing okay, whatever it is. And normally, you know, at the end, I would say, you know, don't forget to stay heavy. That's kind of like a sign off, and I've been doing that a lot. And you know what? I'm just going to say, take care of yourselves, all of you. And we'll get through this, and we'll get back to going out and seeing some shows. Until that time, you know, check out Bandcamp, buy something from some of the artists, and support them. They need it. And we'll talk to you soon. We got some other episodes coming up. And, you know, just stay healthy out there. We'll talk to you.